Hi, I'm Alex Zaves and welcome back to the Arts and Crafts Show. I did a video a couple of weeks ago and I was talking about how artists and craftspeople price their work. And I realized that I was basically speaking about how craftspeople price their work. The 3 times rule for wholesale, 6 times rule for retail, and if you want to see that video, I'll put a link up above right now. And I wanted to now focus on how artists price their work. It's a little bit different, and in some ways it's the same. How it's the same is that some artists that are just beginning, they're struggling to figure out pricing, what they will do is they'll take their material costs, how much is their canvas, stretched or pre-stretched, how they gesso it, the materials, the paint, and perhaps the framing, and then they will also try to work in the price of their hourly wage and come up with a price. A lot of artists, they will just go strictly how much they want for an hourly wage. They know a painting may take them 6 or 7 hours to do, and then they want $30, $40 an hour, and then that's what they would like. The artists that are pretty well been involved in art and painting, they pretty much know the different prices that when they go to the art show, that's basically what they're going to get. They may get $150 for this piece, $400 for that, $600 if they're lucky on this piece here, depending on the size, because size also comes into play when pricing your work. Some artists that are just trying to build some momentum in their life, they will go according to the old standards. And I was just reading an article not long ago that several hundred years ago, when before they were artists, they were called artists, they were called painters. And when they would paint, you know, a big room or chapel or something of that nature for the kings and royalty, they were paid by the square foot. But they were still artists, but they were considered painters. Today they're more like artists, and they want to be judged on their merit of their work rather than, you know, anything else. But the reality is that how do they price their work? So artists today that are trying to make it up through the gallery system to higher levels and maybe corporate interests, you know, corporate buying, will charge by the square inch. They'll usually start about 50 cents a square inch, and as their work sells and they get some notoriety, they bump it up to 75 cents a square inch, $1, and then increments of whatever they feel they can get per square inch for their work. Artists also deal with galleries, and galleries years ago were a lot more amiable, in my opinion, because 30 years ago, galleries would only, you put your work in a gallery show, they would really, you know, sponsor the artist, they would put together shows for them, and they'd only take 40%. Today, galleries are taking, you know, 50, 60, 70% of the artist's work. They don't even put out brochures for you. They only allow, you know, if clients come in and they see something, then they'll buy it. It's not as amiable as it was years ago. So artists have a really hard time trying to get their work sold and, you know, out into the world. But perhaps the internet now is helping in ways that galleries no longer do that. Because galleries, sometimes they would sell your work, you wouldn't even get paid. So that wasn't so good. So here a gallery was getting work for free, showing your work, and if anything was damaged, the gallery was not responsible for it. You took back your work, and you know that's the way life is. So artists have a whole different way of trying to price their work out. Now when they go to the shows, okay, this is a whole different way of looking at the shows. When they go to a show, the show that they're going to, certain shows attract a certain crowd that usually has a certain budget. I mean, if it's let's say it's a middle class show, the people who attend it will be middle class. Their budget is middle class. You know, they're going to be able to spend anywhere from $200 to $700, just as if they were going to be spending something like that on a TV or a washing machine or dryer or some kind of household item. Okay, that's their budget. And if they see a nice piece of artwork for $400, $500, $600, that's their budget. They're not going to have a budget of $1,000 or $2,000. It's possible that people do come along and have that much money, and if they like your work and your work is priced at that, okay, you've had a good weekend. You've had a really good way to go. And I've been to shows where artists have had double booths, big, you know, artwork there, huge paintings, $2,000, $3,000, and they didn't sell anything at the show. So it's a very difficult thing, but they're looking for corporate, you know, buyers. And if they go to a show in a nice neighborhood in a big city, you know, they're mining for that one or two, you know, people who are going to come along and spend some big money. Usually corporate buyers, people with dentists or doctors. I sold an art installation to a medical group in Madison, Wisconsin. A very nice bonus for me for that show. I didn't expect it, but it happened. So artists have a different way to go. They have a whole different set of rules and regulations on how to price their work. But I would say most artists price their work according to what they think they can get at that show. And I would say that we're looking at $200, $300, $400, maybe $700 for a piece of art, mostly two-dimensional. And photographers are in that ball game there. They're two-dimensional. So where artists and photographers make most of their sales is from prints of their originals, of the bigger pieces for photography. They'll sell smaller pieces in prints, and they'll make their money that way. And I would say the bulk of their sales comes from that. There was one artist I saw that he got into the show from his artwork. His work was only $200 or $300, but he was selling frames. His frames were $500 to $1,500 just for the frames. So he was making money on the frames, but he got into the show with his paintings. So that's kind of a loophole right there that this character, you know, bypassed. And I do recommend that if people do go to shows, and I guess I'm preaching to the choir here because, you know, you're in the same business, is that artists are excellent framers. They know how to mat, and they are really the best people to buy from if you're going to have your work matted and framed. Because if you take your work and you buy the work, and if, you know, if there are clients out there watching this video, if you buy your work from an artist, you're going to pay 2, 3, 4 times more if you take it to a professional framer. The artist really does the work just as well as a framer that you're going to go to a brick and mortar store. So I would suggest that you buy your work from a framer. The frames are not that expensive. They've got quite a lot of variety, and you'll probably be happy with, you know, what's available, because artists know what is the best way to frame their work, and they're really offering you the best that they, you know, for their art. So I would consider being an artist a very difficult situation in getting your work done, because it's such an emotional attachment to your art. Crafters have the same emotional attachment to their work as well. I know I do. Some of my work more than others, but it's very difficult for me to sell something, and when they do it, I almost feel like the customer's got to really take care of my work. And I explain how to, especially my kinetic art, I explain what's the best way to take care of the work. It's a very close individual feeling you have with your art, and I suggest that you try to get the best price you can, of course, and giving discounts is always a difficult thing, but, you know, if the show is slow, you know, sometimes you got to, you know, pay the bills, and I understand how that can happen sometimes. So anyway, that is basically how artists, you know, cover it. They do the cost of the materials. Some of them they want an hourly wage. Sometimes they do price it by the square inch. And then they have to deal with galleries who, you know, the artist is $400 for a piece of work. The gallery says, you're not going to get $800 in our gallery because we want double. So you might have to settle for less that way. It's a difficult way to go, but it's very rewarding. And I've seen a lot of artists, they make it in the art show circuit. So not to worry, you can do it. And you price your work in the beginning a little bit less than you would like, because you can always go up. But going down is a little difficult, because if you come down from the prices and somebody had bought from you before, you will be sure when they see you again, what did you do? And the whole idea of pricing your artwork is to go up, 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 up. In 20 years from now, you're doing really well. So, and you've got the experience and the talent, and you've done it. So good luck with that. Anyway, that's my story about how artists price their work. If you can give me a thumbs up on that, and subscribe and hit that bell, share the information, and I would like to see you at the next Arts and Crafts show. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye.